The first buzz of my phone barely nudged me from sleep, a soft vibration against the nightstand. A second buzz stirred me a bit more, but the third, sharp and insistent, yanked me fully awake. I groaned and reached for it in the dark, only to feel something smooth and chilling instead. Carol's phone. That was odd. Carol never left her phone lying around, not even for a minute. I once thought it was cute, a sign of her constant connection to social media or the latest gossip. But now as my own phone continued its buzzing and an unsettling knot tightened in my stomach, I unlocked the screen. 3 texts from an unknown number read, "Check her phone. She's lying to you. She's not alone right now." That uneasy feeling deepened as I turned my head toward the other side of the bed beside Carol. It was empty. The sheets still held a whisper of warmth that sent a chill down my spine. The entire house was quiet, but not the comforting kind. A charged, anticipatory silence. My gaze darted to the shut bedroom door, then to the hallway beyond and to the stairs. That's when I caught it. A sound that wasn't the typical creak of settling wood or the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. It was softer, unmistakably human. A low voice interlaced with a giggle. Carol's laugh. My heart pounded in my chest, every muscle taut as if on high alert, ready to fight or flee. I was now completely, terrifyingly awake. I slid out of bed, clutching my phone as I treaded carefully, each step deliberate. I barely knew what I was looking for, but I kept moving. Halfway down the stairs, I froze. Even though the living room light was off, the glow from a phone screen revealed 2 shadowed figures, Carol and a man, seated far too close for comfort. My vision narrowed, the world around me warped with shock. Carol was leaning in, her face mere inches from his, their hands brushing in a moment that was intimate and forbidden. Rage flared uncontrollably, a wildfire coursing through my veins. I held my breath, silently willing myself to remain unseen. I gripped the railing tightly, refusing to let them notice me, for now. Before I could make a move, the front door creaked open. A sudden gasp split the silence, and in the doorway stood our daughter, frozen. Her wide eyes scanned between me, her mother, and the stranger on the couch. She might not have understood every word, but she sensed that something was terribly wrong. Carol jerked upright. The man, Kenneth, I realized in that heart-stopping moment, turned his head as if caught off guard. But all I could see was my daughter. Emily hovered at the threshold, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. Her sleepover at a friend's should have lasted until morning. Instead, she returned early. Forgotten pajamas or perhaps a bad dream pulled her home. But instead of comfort, she was met by this nightmare. Her face twisted into a mixture of confusion and fear. "Daddy?" she whispered. Finally, Carol turned at the sound of Emily's voice. In that heartbeat, I saw the dawning realization in her eyes. A realization too late. Her lips parted, but no words emerged. Kenneth jerked upright first, shoving his phone into his pocket and practically fleeing the scene, mumbling an apology or excuse. I didn't care about him. My focus was on Carol. I stepped forward calmly and commanded, "Explain." My voice was so soft it barely carried, the calm before an inevitable storm. Carol's mouth flitted as she fumbled for a lie, some excuse that would twist this moment into something else. But she knew in her heart that nothing could mend this, not with Emily standing there. Before she could continue, I cut her off harshly. "Don't." My hands balled into fists. Emily stepped back, her small hands trembling. That sight shattered something inside me. My precious daughter, embroiled in a betrayal she never deserved to witness. For an interminable moment, Carol's eyes met Emily's. Perhaps she thought of a weak maternal appeal to salvage the moment, but it was already too late. Emily had seen everything. In a panic, Carol spun back to me, her eyes flashing with fear, and then, just as predictably, she attacked. "You're overreacting," she snapped, crossing her arms as if to assert that she'd been wronged. "It's not what it looks like." I let out a bitter, short laugh. "Oh, really? Then what is it, Carol? A Bible study? A business meeting?" Her face hardened. "Lower your voice. Emily doesn't need to see you lose it." Emily broke into a tiny, choked sob, and when I looked at her, seeing her trembling hands, her quivering lip, and her eyes brimming with tears, I knew I couldn't let it go on. Carol had already taken so much from me, but now she was taking her own child. I exhaled sharply and forced my voice even. Emily, sweetheart, come upstairs, okay? I'll talk to you in a minute. She hesitated, glancing back at her mother. Carol attempted a smile, feigning that everything was fine, assuring, Go on, honey, Daddy's just upset. I swallowed the fury rising inside me as Emily nodded anxiously and scampered up the stairs. Once her door clicked shut, I turned back to Carol, my tone ice cold. Now tell me the truth, or I swear you'll regret every second. Carol didn't blink. Instead, she smirked and said the words that sealed her fate. Well, since you're so curious, I was actually considering an open marriage. I stared, waiting for a punchline, some nervous laugh, a way to twist this into a sick joke. But Carol simply stood there, arms crossed, chin defiantly raised as though I had lost my marbles. An open marriage? I repeated, each syllable tasting bitter. Don't act so shocked, she retorted with an eye roll. I stepped closer, my voice dropping dangerously. You were sneaking around with another man in our home, and our daughter walked in on it. And instead of apologizing, you suggest an open marriage? Carol sighed, exasperation dripping from every word. Jesus, calm down. You're blowing this out of proportion. You think this isn't a big deal? You think Emily stumbling upon you and some guy is nothing? You think breaking our vows, lying right to my face, and disrespecting our family is just fun and games? She tossed up her hands dramatically. Oh, please, you're being ridiculous. I was going to tell you about it eventually, but you're just too uptight. I knew you'd have this reaction. My pulse thundered in my ears as the walls seemed to close in on us. Here was the woman I once trusted above all, caught red-handed, and now I was expected to be the unreasonable one? I forced the words out. How long? How long have you been seeing him? Carol paused for a brief, agonizing second, and that was enough. A broken laugh slipped out of me. So that's a yes, then. You've been cheating. How long, Carol? I pressed. With a sigh as if the answer was no more than an inconvenience, she mumbled, A few months of late nights, girls' nights, unexplained absences, and leaving your phone face down. It all clicked into place. I shook my head in disbelieving laughter. Unbelievable. Carol shrugged as if it were nothing. It's not a big deal. It's just variety. I love you, but I don't want to live our boring routine forever. I thought that maybe opening up our marriage might actually help us. She said it like a favor she was doing me. I ran my hand through my hair, trying desperately to stay composed. Oh, really? Then you already ran it by Kenneth, didn't you? Her silence said it all. A humorless laugh escaped me. So you had your fun, made your decision, and now expect me to just go along? She smirked that infuriating, triumphant smirk, as if she'd already won. You should think about it, she said coolly. It could be good for us. I drew in a slow, deep breath and steadied my voice. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain I was drowning in. And then a dark idea struck me. Carol wanted an open marriage? Fine. Let's have one. Carol leaned back, arms folded, expecting an explosion, a storm of anger, or a tragic breakdown. She believed she'd cornered me, that I'd beg or plead, but she underestimated me. I met her gaze and smiled slowly. You know what? You're right. Carol's head cocked in disbelief. Wait, what? I nodded deliberately. Absolutely right. We should open up our marriage. A flicker of hesitation crossed her face, quickly masked by smug confidence. I knew you'd eventually come around. But oh, Carol had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I set my plan in motion. Knowing exactly where to start, I dialed a contact from my phone. Sharon, Kenneth's wife. We had met only a few times at work events, a quiet and polite woman who wouldn't usually find herself entangled in this mess. I hit call, and on the second ring, she answered. Hello? Came her cautious voice. Hey, Sharon, it's Stephen, I said evenly. A pause. I need to talk about Kenneth and Carol. Silence, then a shaky breath. What did they do? 10 minutes later, we sat in a quiet cafe, two strangers bound by betrayal. I laid it all out. Carol's late nights, secret texts, and the smirk when she confessed. Sharon listened silently, gripping her coffee cup so hard it might shatter. When I finished, she exhaled slowly, eyes glassy. He's been different, distant, she whispered. I didn't want to believe it. I nodded. Same here. Then her expression sharpened as she asked, so what are you going to do? I leaned back, choosing my words carefully. Carol thinks she's in control, pulling all the strings, but she made one fatal mistake. Sharon tilted her head. What mistake? I smiled slightly. She underestimated me. A slow smirk curved on Sharon's lips before she declared, then let's make her regret it. That night, Carol returned home, oblivious to the crumbling ground beneath her. She tossed her purse on the counter, stretched as if exhausted from a long day, and then turned with that smug look. You were thinking about it, weren't you? She purred, stepping closer confidently, talking about freedom and excitement for us. I fought back a laugh and responded coolly, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it. Carol grinned, clearly believing she had won me over. Little did she know what was coming. I let her run on, spinning her ridiculous justifications, nodding as if I agreed while planning my countermove. The very next night, I invited Sharon over. Carol lounged in the living room, scrolling through her phone, probably messaging Kenneth, barely noticing me answer the door. But when she finally looked up and saw Sharon standing there with effortless poise, she froze. Sharon held herself like a woman who had mastered her fate, completely unruffled as she faced the woman who was sleeping with her husband. What's she doing here? Carol stammered. I closed the door behind Sharon and smiled casually. You wanted an open marriage, so I figured, why not start with Kenneth's wife? Carol stiffened. Sharon barely hid a smirk. Carol's mouth opened in shock before closing as her mind raced. Wait, you what? I leaned back, arms folded. What? You get to sleep with Kenneth, so that's fair, but I'm not even allowed my time with her? Carol's face flushed angry red. That's not even the same thing. Sharon finally spoke, her voice smooth as silk. Why not, since we're all open now? Carol's eyes snapped to her, narrowing. You know, Sharon didn't even flinch, and I could see that silence stretching thick. Carol glared at Sharon, then back at me, nostrils flaring, jaw clenched. And suddenly she laughed. Not a genuine laugh, but one sharp, bitter, mockery-laced. You think this bothers me? She scoffed, arms folded, daring me. Go ahead, be my guest. If you think you can handle an open marriage, let's see how you like it. It was a challenge, a dare she never imagined I'd accept. Carol believed she still controlled everything, not knowing I had already won. As Carol paced angrily in the living room, I sat with Sharon on the couch. Carol was busy waiting, frantic about whether Kenneth might call, assuming he knew everything. I had ensured he did. Finally, Carol appeared before us, forcing a smirk. So, what's the plan here, Stephen? Are you and Sharon going to play house while I do my own thing? You wanted an open marriage, I reminded her calmly. I'm just making it fair. Carol scoffed. You don't really want this. Sharon, unruffled, leaned in, placing a delicate hand on my knee. And how do you know what he wants? She asked smoothly. Carol's jaw twitched in displeasure. You're so pathetic, she spat. You think involving her will make you jealous? That I'll beg you to forget everything? You're a joke. I smiled softly. Funny because the only one losing here is you. Carol frowned with a flicker of doubt. This was the moment she recognized she had pushed too far. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen deliberately. Carol, check your messages. I slowly turned the phone so she could see her own texts, screenshots I had forwarded to myself. Late-night conversations with Kenneth, her insults, her lies, and worst of all, the message I had sent to him before she could act. Hey, Kenneth, just a heads up. Carol told me everything. Good luck explaining this to Sharon. Carol lunged, desperate to snatch it back, but I slipped away her grasp with a calm smirk. This is what honesty looks like, I said. Maybe you should try it sometime. In desperation, Carol turned towards Sharon, voice trembling. You really trust him? But Sharon remained unshaken. I don't need to trust him. I trust the evidence, she stated coolly. Carol's panic grew. She was losing it all. She had wanted an open marriage. Now she was staring at an open life of consequences. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was taking everything back. Carol stood frozen, eyes wide, realizing for the first time that she wasn't in control. I let silence stretch between us until, like all manipulators under pressure, she attempted to change the narrative. "You're just desperate to hurt me," she said, her voice shaky with false indignation. "That's what this is all about, isn't it? You don't love Sharon. You don't really want an open marriage. You're just out for revenge." I raised an eyebrow, incredulous. "You're right," I said slowly, stepping closer. "I don't love Sharon. I barely know her. But that doesn't change the fact that you cheated with Kenneth, did it?" Her face twitched. "Don't twist this," she tried. But I wasn't letting her stray off course. "And revenge? You bet your ass it is revenge," I declared bitterly. "Because you didn't just cheat. You humiliated me, mocked me, and worst of all, forced our daughter to witness it." For a heartbeat, Carol's eyes flickered at the mention of Emily. Then she tried to regain control. "So what? You want a divorce now? Is that it?" I shook my head slowly. "Carol, you still don't understand, do you?" I turned to Sharon and asked, "Did Kenneth respond yet?" Sharon checked her phone and with a small, satisfied smile said, "Oh, he did." Carol's shoulders tensed as I motioned for Sharon to read aloud. In a perfect imitation of Kenneth's voice, Sharon recited, "Carol, what the hell did you do? I'm taking the kids to my mom's. I want a divorce. Thanks for ruining my life." Carol flinched as Kenneth's words hit home. For the first time, real fear lined her face. This wasn't just about control over me anymore. She was losing Kenneth too. This wasn't merely a disastrous night. It was total catastrophe. I leaned in, softening my voice almost to a whisper. "You wanted an open marriage, Carol. Congratulations. Now you're open to a world of fallout." Carol's hands clenched into fists and she demanded, "You think this is funny?" I tilted my head. "No, Carol. I think it's justice." Her breathing turned ragged, and then the front door burst open once again. We all turned sharply as Kenneth stormed in, face twisted with rage, shirt wrinkled, hair disheveled, as if he'd just crawled out of hell. "Good," Carol muttered, a fleeting glimmer of hope lighting her face until she caught the hateful look in his eyes. "You idiot," he spat in a low, shaking voice. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Carol flinched. "Kenneth, please," she pleaded, but he snapped, "Carol, he took the kids." Then with chilling precision, he added, "Sharon took everything. She called my boss, our boss." His eyes smoldered as he continued, "Do you know what that means?" Carol's mouth fluttered open, desperate for words that wouldn't come. I glanced at Sharon. She gave me a tiny nod. That was entirely her doing. She hadn't just left Kenneth. She'd obliterated his world on her way out. "Beautiful," I murmured under my breath. Kenneth ran a hand through his hair, exclaiming, "Jesus Christ, I lost my wife. I lost our family. And for what? For a woman who can't even keep her life straight?" Carol's eyes widened in panic. "Wait, what are you saying?" Kenneth's gaze turned icy as he asked pointedly, "You knew she was seeing someone else, right?" The air shifted instantly. Carol froze. "Come again?" I managed to ask. Kenneth let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, you didn't know? That's rich. Here I thought you were only cheating behind my back. Turns out she was playing both of us." Sharon let out a sharp, amused breath. "Oh, really?" I challenged Carol slowly. "Did you really think half-truths would save you?" Her breathing became shallow. I don't know what he's talking about." Kenneth barked, "Holy crap, don't even try." He pulled out his phone and, after a few taps, turned the screen toward me. A photo of Carol in a dim restaurant with another man, someone who wasn't Kenneth. My stomach churned and my grip tightened. "Who the hell is that?" Kenneth's voice was icily clear. "That's her boss." Sharon whistled softly. "Wow, ambitious, aren't we, Carol?" Her hands trembled as she stood exposed, with no more lies left. "Stephen, listen. Just shut up." Carol snapped, her voice trembling. I took a slow, deliberate step forward. "So let me get this straight. While you were cheating with Kenneth, you were also sleeping with your boss?" Carol swallowed hard. "It wasn't like that." Kenneth cut her off, jabbing a finger in my direction. "We're here feeling sorry for you, as if it was just about me?" Carol's eyes darted frantically between us. "Stephen, baby, don't," she pleaded. "You don't get to baby me anymore." I snapped back coldly. In that moment, she realized her end was near. There was no escape. and I was determined to make sure she lost everything. I turned to Kenneth, voice quiet and deadly. Just clarify, has this been going on for months? Kenneth exhaled sharply and nodded. Yeah, while you were screwing him, you were also screwing your boss. Kenneth's bitter laugh echoed as Carol finally broke. You're both being ridiculous. Her voice cracked in helpless protest. It wasn't even that serious, she insisted. How long, Carol? I demanded in a low, menacing tone. She hesitated before a shaky breath escaped her. A year. A year. Not weeks, not months. An entire damn year. In that moment, a cold rage seeped deep into my bones, a dangerous chill that promised retribution. Sharon let out a soft, amused sigh. Wow, you really thought you'd get away with it, huh? Carol's breathing grew ragged. I never meant for it to go this far, she mumbled. For what, Carol? I interrupted, stepping closer. For coming clean? For finally facing the consequences? Carol clenched her jaw as I laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. Oh, really? And your excuse was that you were going to come out? To let it all finally break in your face? Her eyes flickered longingly at Kenneth. Kenneth, tell them. It wasn't just me. You wanted this too, didn't you? Kenneth scoffed. Now you want to drag me down too? Shaking his head slowly, he said, I've already lost everything tonight. My wife, my kids, my career. But you, I doubt you can talk your way out of this. Carol's panic turned to despair. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I thought you'd understand. My lip curled in bitter amusement. Understand what? That you not only betrayed me, but also disrespected our home? That your thirst for cheap thrills destroyed our marriage? Carol's face twisted with frustration. I deserve more than what you gave me. For a heartbeat, the silence that followed was deadly. Sharon let out a low whistle. There it is. Carol clapped her hand to her mouth, realizing she'd said exactly what she shouldn't have. I nodded slowly, voice steady as I said, Well, Carol, I hope those extra men were worth it, because you just lost everything. Her face drained of color. What are you talking about? She stammered. I pulled out my phone without hesitation and sent a single message to my lawyer. File the papers. Carol's breath hitched. Stephen, no, please, she begged, but I ignored her. I turned to Sharon and said calmly, Shall we? Sharon smiled. Gladly. Kenneth sneered. I'm out of here. Enjoy watching her crumble. Carol lunged, grabbing my arm. Stephen, please, we can fix this. I yanked my arm free, coldly declaring, There's nothing left to fix, Carol. With that, I turned and walked out the door, leaving her standing amid the ruins of her own calamity. Her desperate plea, Stephen, please don't do this, cracked from behind me as I kept my eyes forward. I didn't slow my pace as I strode to my car with Sharon by my side, while Carol stood in our doorway, our home, watching her world disintegrate. Kenneth's car was already peeling away, tires screeching on the pavement, likely off to drown his sorrows in whiskey and regret. He had lost his family, and Carol had ensured that he would too. Now she was alone. As we reached the car, Sharon stopped beside me and sighed. Well, that was satisfying. I let out a soft, almost breathless chuckle while my heart still pounded. Do you really think she'll ever recover? Sharon smirked. Not a chance. I glanced back at the house one last time. Carol remained there, frozen, arms hugging herself tightly, trying in vain to shield herself from the consequences of her choices. For a split second, memories of the good times, 11 years of laughter, late-night confessions, and tender mornings, flickered in my mind. But she was gone. I opened the car door and slid into the driver's seat, and then, as Carol took a tentative step forward, I rolled down the window and looked at her intently. You wanted an open marriage, I said softly, my smile carrying a dangerous edge. Now you have nothing. With that, I drove away. Carol didn't follow. She didn't scream. She just stood, alone, as her entire life crashed down around her. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt free. Before we wrap up this chapter, we invite you to join our community. If this story stirred something inside you, please subscribe, hit like, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Your feedback means the world to our channel. This is the story of betrayal, revenge, and the unraveling of a life built on broken trust, a dramatic journey that leaves nothing untouched. Remember, sometimes the price of freedom is a heavy one, and sometimes the only escape from a collapsing world is to let go of everything you once knew.